and welcome to the Medicine Mermaids podcast, stories of womb water and womanhood. We're your host, Naomi Maharaj and Naomi Ring. In this podcast, we're here to share real stories of all things women's health, embodied spirituality, and ancient feminine mysticism. We value authentic sovereign expression, and our greatest hope with this podcast is to awaken the unique medicine that lives within each of you. The title of today's episode is Reminiscing Our Inner Child Mermaid, Aquamarine, H2O, and Reclaiming the Archetype That Shaped Us. And now to introduce ourselves, I'm Naomi Ring, an integrative somatic healer, feminine movement facilitator, astrologer, and grief doula. I support women to get clarity on their soul's evolutionary blueprint and understand their ancestral imprints so that they can alchemize their wounds and feel empowered in life. My main tools are evolutionary astrology, devotional dance, family constellations and trauma healing, and more. My biggest pleasure is to guide women on their journeys home so that they can embody their wholeness and root into who they truly are.
And I'm Naomi Maharaj. I'm a clinical herbalist and women's holistic health practitioner. I support women in getting to the root cause of their female health symptoms that make it hard for them to feel beautiful and strong and vital in their bodies, while also helping them remember how our bodies mirror the beauty of the earth. My work weaves together clinical herbalism, body image healing, German new medicine, holistic pelvic care, ecology, and so much more. I just love helping women to reclaim their sovereign health and to remember the divine beauty that they are. So, welcome to this episode. This is such a special one for us. Every episode is a special. I say that every freaking time. This episode this episode is especially special because we are getting to the root of our mermaidness. So in this episode, it's going to be a super watery, nostalgic episode. This episode is dedicated to all those girlies out there who played mermaid in the pool just like us and who loved watching our mermaid movies and shows like H2O and Aquamarine and are grown-up women now who still feel connected to those mermaidy memories of ours. Um, and who maybe feel connected to the mermaid archetype but can't quite put the words to it. Like, why do I still feel drawn to mermaids? Why is it that I feel like a mermaid? It's kind of embarrassing for me to say as an adult with my friends. We want you to feel like you're in a safe place with other women who feel the same way. And
And
yeah,
release the shame from connecting to this archetype, and also all of the ways that, from the outside we are kind of told, or like how the mermaid archetype has been misinterpreted and in any kind of way like distorted. There we
yeah.
go. And yeah, we're dedicating this one to our inner childs, our inner
Yeah.
mermaid children.
Yeah, and it's also important for the listeners to know that Naomi and I came together in the last few years to do our work together because of the mermaids. This is a long story that I've shared in other episodes, and I won't get into the details now, but the mermaids essentially told me to reach out to Naomi, plus another girl at the time, to start doing these 3-day siren portals. This was back in
Mermaid code.
2024. Mermaid Code portals, where we just spent 3 days doing sound healings and talking about Atlantis and working with frequencies and talking about mermaid stories and our mermaid memories as young girls.
Tuning
And it just kind of
our
evolved.
forks and using our
Yeah,
voice as
using
frequency,
our voice,
dance.
connecting with our siren song. And
Yeah.
it just kind of has evolved since then. We've had multiple projects over the years, like Sirens Cove, which was an online course we made. We've had Wealthy Mermaid and Medicine Mermaid. Before it was a podcast, it was a monthly group mermaid
Yeah,
meeting.
community
So
meeting. Yeah.
yeah. So the mermaid has been with Naomi and I all throughout our journey, and that's part of the reason why we're called Medicine Mermaids Podcast. So this is the first episode where we actually talk about the mermaids. So we wanted to give that little introduction for those of you who may be coming into our podcast now or who haven't been with us throughout our whole journey.
Yeah.
Naomi and I, we are little mermaids who love to swim in waterfalls and oceans, and when we're together, we're in water a lot of the
A
time.
lot of the time.
So those of you who are listening probably, maybe feel the same way. So this is for you.
And if not, you might need a permission slip. So
Yeah. Yeah,
here
this
it
is your
goes.
permission slip. Yeah. So the layout of all of our episodes is kind of like Naomi and I asking each other questions and us responding to them together. in this really let's sip some tea conversational style. So I guess I can start,
Yes.
Naomi.
And also,
So
good time to get your tea.
yeah, go get
For those
your,
listening.
we used to call it go get your seaweed tea. Drinking a cup
Little
of
salt,
seaweed tea.
little sea salt.
All right, Naomi. So how did you grow up with mermaids or interact with mermaids as kids? And how did your mermaid journey begin?
Oh, I'm starting. I thought you're
Yeah,
starting.
yeah. Yours, I'm asking you.
So it's so funny because this weekend I actually got to share just, randomly with people. I grew up very independently. Like my parents were all the time like working, and I would just kind of be left to my own devices, doing my own thing. I basically learned to swim since I was like 3 years old. I probably was in water before, but by the age of three, I would jump into the deep end and swim, no problem. Very often, just, whenever I moved a lot in my life, I've talked about it in other episodes, so I'm not gonna get into the whole story, obviously, but like so I didn't always have a pool available, but whenever I did, which is a lot of the times, whether it was like in my own like building complex or the neighborhood, or sometimes it was like, like a country club that maybe so like in every country it was a little different, but I always had access to the water in some way. Usually it was pools. Every now and then I was maybe near a beach, but long story short, because of all the time I spent independently, kind of just like playing with myself, being in my own world, my top number one thing was to be in the pool for hours and hours and just dive into the deep. And I literally would go into a world where I'm a mermaid and I'm living in my mermaid world, and I would like throw objects for myself into the pool and then go find them and throw them again. And, like it was just like, and I would have missions, and, like there was just like, it was a whole world out down there. And I just loved being submerged in water. And probably growing up, the first movie I ever watched with mermaids was probably Peter Pan, right? So like before I got ever into like H2O or Aquamarine, like when I was more of a teenager, as a child, I first was exposed to mermaids through Peter Pan. And at the age of 3, 4, I had a friend who had the movie at home back then, 1998 or whatever it was. Um,
2003.
so yeah, no, no, but when I was 3, 4, it was like 1998, 1999. I
Oh, you
would
mean the Disney version of Peter Pan?
Yes, yes, like the
Yeah.
colored, the
Yeah.
original. So
Mm-hmm.
my friend had the movie in cassette because we didn't have DVDs yet, at least in Argentina, and so I didn't have the cassette, and I don't know how it's said in English, but in Spanish it's cassette. So so I would go to her house to sleep over and beg her to watch Peter Pan because, I didn't have the movie at home and I just loved it. And when the mermaids would come, I would just like imagine that I'm a mermaid. So it like really started really super young. And yeah, I was always just swimming and practicing. I practiced, the mermaid swim, and I was doing this naturally. I don't think anyone talked to me about mermaids, or did I consciously try to be a mermaid in the sense of I think it was just like an inclination, an attraction, a magnetism to being the mermaid, and like I have these pictures that one day I asked my mom. I was in like our in Argentina in our like yard near the pool, and it was like all green around the pool, and I had this like pink bathing suit, and I remember that I just asked my mom to take some pictures of me, and I was just like posing, like very Oshun, very like sensual little child, just feeling beautiful and like doing all these like beautiful poses, and I yeah, I think like all of this is related to the mermaid, just like having nourishing time and swimming and just losing your sense of time, which is so easy for me, and floating in the water and whatever it is, so it really began there, and I think, yeah, I then went more into like dance and stuff. But by the time I lived in Chile and I was like 13, I watched H2O for the first time, and I was also in the swim team, so I was again like more submerged in water. Um, And I think from there it just like kept on being a thing for me. Even the years that I danced, I always just went to the pool. You know, it was like come back home from school, go to dance, go to the pool after, or go to the pool, go to dance, depending on the hours, all weekend in the pool. Just, yeah, the pool was a big thing for me.
Mhm.
I guess I had a bit of a fear of the ocean, so that was a little, a little different. But yeah, mostly it began there and at around the age of like 19, 20, 21, I began healing that like fear of the ocean because I once almost drowned when I was 7. And so like, I would never go in alone. And also my father, whenever he would take us to the beach with my mom, he would walk on the beach with my mom, leave me and my brother alone, like playing in the sand. He would like walk 30 minutes one way, walk 30 minutes back. Me and my brother would like play in the sand. And then he would like go into the water 5 minutes and then we had to go home. So I never had a beach day growing up as a child. I never got to spend like hours on the beach. It was like a quick practical thing. And so only around the age of like 18, I slowly on my own got to understand what it's like to spend like hours on the beach. And because I was now a grown up and I, didn't have my parents around and I couldn't just hold on for dear life onto one of them, I had to learn to go into the water on my own and not be afraid. So around the age of 21, I had already been in some like sweat lodges. I had done like one ayahuasca journey. I had kind of been more around the shamanic world in some way or another. So I knew the song, of Yemanja. I knew like songs of Doom, and I started naturally just like singing to Yemanja and like talking to her and dancing as I would walk into the water, like into the ocean, and then dancing and singing as and like praying as I would walk out, just to thank her for protecting me and for keeping me safe and for being gentle with me. And that's how I slowly trusted and could like surrender. And nowadays, for years now, I go in, I enjoy. I still do the ritual because sometimes it still comes up, the fear, but like, I completely, yeah, got to enjoy that. So like that's, I guess I shared the child and then the evolution of the child. I'm done.
That's so
I did
funny.
in there.
I feel like that's the natural progression. I think that's perfect. I think for me it was very similar. Like I grew up in South Florida, as I've shared in previous episodes. We had a pool in our backyard, and very similar to you, Naomi, just like every weekend we were in the pool or in the beach, right? But it was mostly the pool, and I think there was something about that that was so similar that, we had little coconut trees around our pool. So we had these little coconuts and I would like throw them in the pool with my sister and be like, with one breath, go find all the coconuts at the bottom of the pool. And we would do that back and forth and we would play mermaids with one another. And there was always some drama. My sister was the cool mermaid and I was the uncool mermaid. And
Oh,
all these different things. We always played mermaid, and I get what you mean. It's not something you're doing. It's not like, oh, mommy, I'm a mermaid. It's just
yeah.
obviously I'm in the water. I'm gonna be a mermaid. Like it's almost like this is this other part of me that I know, so I don't even have to say it. It's unconscious to me, and I'm practicing it. I'm being it in the water. Like, where's my tail? That's all I'm missing is my tail. So I also grew up playing mermaids, and I don't know what was my first exposure to mermaid movies. It might have been Peter Pan, not the Disney version, but the 2003 Peter Pan movie, which we'll talk about. Um, yeah, I think that was the first one. But it took me a few years, I guess, to like be like, oh, mermaids, and to watch them in the movies. And then I think it was H2O as well. That was like, oh yeah, there we go, mermaid. But I think similar to you now, I mean, like whenever I was in the water, I could be there for hours. It's almost like this place that I could just lose time and, just like I would just like I loved that feeling of being underwater and looking up at the water, you
Yeah.
know? Like when you are under the water and you look up at the surface of the water, it's just so trippy. And I remember spending so much time just looking up at the surface, like holding my breath and just looking up. And I feel like it's maybe some ancient memory actually of just doing that. And I
Mm.
also love the feeling. I remember feeling this when I was a kid, just loving that feeling of like I can't tell what being in water feels like. It's just like it's just I'm in it and I feel it, but at the same time I don't know, like I feel nothing. Or just like sitting on the surface of the water and just like moving my hair and feeling the massage on my scalp of the roots of my hair being massaged by the water. Like I've spent many, 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 many hours of my childhood just doing that. Just
Yeah.
literally tripping out, just studying the surface of the water and feeling it on my scalp.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I was the opposite to you in terms of the fear of the ocean. Like I never had fear of the ocean because the ocean in Florida is just a big pool and it's just still water. Like there's no currents. I never had any negative experiences in the water. I would throw myself in
Same.
there. It was when I moved to Brazil and then I moved to Ubatuba, which is where I live now, which is completely different picture where the ocean, there's currents and it's dangerous and people drown like every week. There's 120 beaches in my city. So like that's crazy. There's so many beaches and each beach is kind of a different place. You know, some beaches are calmer, some beaches are for surfers only, some beaches are like crazy, don't dare even swim.
Mm.
And I came here, I started surfing, so I started having some kind of crazy experiences. I never almost drowned, but I've been in scary situations where I was getting pulled by a current in the direction of the rocks. I've had like surf accidents where I've hurt my neck, like difficult situations that now I'm dealing with the fear of the ocean that I never dealt with as a kid.
Mm.
But when I moved to Brazil, I started connecting more with Umbanda, which I've shared in other episodes, which is an Afro-Brazilian religion that is connected to the Orishas, and Iemanjá is one of the Orishas, the most famous, I guess,
Yeah.
Orisha of this tradition, the goddess of the ocean. And I started connecting more with her, connecting more with Oshu, and I started reclaiming this mermaidness more consciously, being like, "Oh my God, I'm a mermaid. I finally like put this little puzzle piece back inside of me. I'm a mermaid. I love being in water. That's a big part of me, and I have to say it more often." And Naomi and I kind of came together with that. That's how we started the episode. So, so yeah, that's kind of my journey with the mermaids. It was really just being a little kid playing around and just having this connection that I never could put words to, only
Mm.
later in life, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, I totally get that. I think I also didn't put words to it until someone put it on me. Like I would always be told when my hair in the water, they would be like, "Oh my God, you have mermaid hair," or like I think it was also kind of being um projected onto me, but like in the most like beautiful sense of the projected on me kind of, phrasing.
Yeah.
Because usually when we say this nowadays, like projected on me, like it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
But in this sense, it's like, yeah, I was getting that reflection from many people, and then it was more about like, oh, let me embrace this archetype that I clearly am connected to and I love anyways. But yeah, it's funny you mentioned the whole like pool thing because maybe our listeners know from a different episode that I lived 1 year in Boca Raton, which is like, you know, South Florida, the area that you grew up in, and it was there that I almost drowned. It was probably maybe the one day that there was like more of a stormy, because I remember I was a child, it was like a stormy ocean that day. And my parents flew away. They left
Poor
me and my
baby.
brothers. My parents weren't even there. It was probably the one time in my life I actually got to be in the beach for longer because like my older brother was in charge of me and my younger brother, and they just went in huge waves. I remember huge waves, and like you can't really see anything, and it was all very like boom, 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 like wave after wave crashing. And I just was like, wait, guys, wait for me. And I just kept on going in. And then the waves kept on coming, and I was like swallowing water, and my hair was everywhere, and I just couldn't get up. And it was just wave after wave crashing onto me until I got like washed onto shore, and I was like choking out water, and like no one helped me. So I think that the fact that I lived it on my own and no one was there for me, my parents weren't there, that's why it created such a big trauma. I'm sorry, I'm like dumping my trauma on all our
You're
listeners.
not. Stop.
But no, I wanted to share because it's so crazy that like I was on that one day. The one day
The
that it
one
was.
day in Florida, the one day in the history of Florida's oceans.
But yeah, when I heard you, I was like, why did I miss that? Like, why, how come I got this experience? But anyways, yeah, yeah. I love that the mermaids connected us. It's
Yeah, I really feel
their
like they
gift to
do.
us. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and also like I'll just mention this here.
Mhm.
There's a really mystical I genuinely believe in mermaids.
Me
Like
too.
I'm not talking just about mermaids as like, oh, this was a childhood
No, no.
archetype or right? Like I genuinely think there are mermaids swimming in
Yeah.
the ocean. I think that I'm not sure if they're aliens, I'm not sure if they're
I've been
elemental beings.
searching.
I've been trying to figure it out, but I know that they're out there. We know more about space than we know about our oceans. We can't
Yeah.
possibly say with fact as a fact that we mermaids don't exist. We don't know. We haven't been everywhere in the ocean.
Yeah.
So I believe in them, and I also think that there's the archetype that they bring to teach us about ourselves. I also think in past lives, like we've been mermaids, we feel connected to the mermaid we've been it. That's why it feels so
Yeah.
sensorially familiar. Like there's this memory, this soul memory somewhere in there. And I think a lot of women actually, because I feel like I look on Instagram, I'm not sure if it's the algorithm or if it's something actually happening in the collective ethers where a lot of women are suddenly like, I'm a mermaid, I'm a mermaid, I'm a mermaid, I'm a mermaid, and they're like posting pictures of themselves as mermaids or like creating careers that somehow weaves in the mermaid or something. I'm not sure if it's just a trend. I don't think so. I feel like it's something deeper happening
It's a
unconsciously.
remembering. I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
the crazy thing for me is like 2023 is the year that you reached out to me in December, right? The end of 2023 or like November. And in that summer, in July of 2023, already before, of course, I was in that energy, but in July of 2023, I was in Crete. And I swam in the most, I mean, I had been to Crete already before, and it's my favorite place ever to be a mermaid. And I had been swimming in all these different waters, and I got even like a photo shoot that was all underwater. I mean, you remember all of those big, like the beginning of the shoots that we used to make our video together and all the things. And my intention for that shoot was to use it all for like the Akashic records and all what I was doing back then, more of like the focus of my work back then. And basically the fact that then you reached out, like, the to me it's amazing that I was already reclaiming my inner mermaid, like more powerfully. Like I was really bringing her forward again, even in my branding, even in kind of like influencing my business. And then you came in and like we were like, let's work together. I just didn't know it, that I was doing it. I wasn't doing it consciously, and you
Yeah.
supported me in getting that that's what I was doing, that that's just part of who I am. It's and that's beautiful, because I was just being a child again in a way, and just doing what I love the most, but I wasn't
Yeah.
aware that and I know that Crete, like being in Crete year after year in 2021 and 2022 and 2023, it just like slowly dripped the
Yeah.
priestess mermaid consciousness into my body, being in those waters. And yeah, I'm skipping ahead. How about we go to the next question?
Well, I feel like that's how the mermaids work. They're water beings, right? They work on the waters of our unconscious. I think that is how they work. It's not like fire medicine or dragon medicine, which is
Mhm.
so in your face. It's like, here I am, see me. It's subtle, it's slow. It's like it's the slow buildup. It's that feeling of like droplets on your forehead until suddenly it's like the awakening happens, you know?
Yeah.
I think that that's kind of how they work. Because for me as well, when I first moved to Brazil, I was living on the coast of Bahia, in an island, and I was swimming in the waters every day. I was walking, and very similar to South Florida, just this big pool, and you could walk like for miles off of the coast, like, and you'd be only calf deep in the water, right? So you could like literally go for a walk in the water and just walk along the
Wow.
island. And I would just lie down and I would just like bathe and just be like suspended in this water and just like float for forever. And in those in those moments, I'd be just connecting with the mermaid energy, but not consciously, like I was just being myself. Prior to moving to Brazil, I was not thinking or talking about mermaids, but
Yeah.
when I got there, suddenly something slowly started to shift. And I think about a month in, maybe, I reached out and I was like, Naomi, let's do
Yeah.
something. And it was this light bulb moment. It was kind of like this woo feeling, like slowly
Mhm.
the water had been dripping on my forehead until suddenly the last one dropped and it was
Yeah.
woo,
Group.
you know? That's how the mermaids feel to me. They feel like this wave, one wave, second wave, third wave, and then suddenly it's the wave that crashes and then you're a different person. You come out the other
Yeah.
side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
So yeah, so let's maybe we move on to the next question.
I'm sure we'll get back to these ripples, droplets. So should I ask you?
Yes.
So what were your favorite mermaid movies growing up and why?
Okay. So movies, I think the movies that had the biggest impact on my life were Aquamarine, uh, Peter Pan, which isn't really a mermaid movie, but mermaids do make a temporary appearance.
A little splash.
And then H2O, Just Dead Water, which isn't a movie, but it's a show. I think Aquamarine, just because I loved Emma Roberts and I love JoJo. And I watched that movie like a million times, but I just love there was like so much play and there was like a romance in it.
Mhm.
And I just loved her story of I just love the story of the mermaid who becomes a girl, you know?
Yeah.
So you get like both sides of her. You get the like cutesy little, I'm learning to walk with two legs and I'm a little fish being trying to be a human, right? We also see that with The Little Mermaid, the most classic mermaid movie there is. But I never really liked Disney movies growing up, really. Like I never really watched The Little Mermaid. I really preferred the human movies. So yeah, Aquamarine was definitely my favorite. And then H2O, I got into that show when I was more of a preteen like becoming a teenager, like
Yeah.
13, 14, 15, maybe 16. And that show had the biggest impact because it felt the most relatable, right? Like they're
Mm-hmm.
teenagers, I'm a teenager. They're going through like normal teenage experiences of like
Yeah.
dating and going to school and applying for college, plus they're mermaids. And it was one of those shows that I don't know. I also love that it was in Australia, and I've always wanted to go to Australia since I was a young girl. I feel this connection there. So yeah, it was a show that was kind of dumb, but at the same time it was awesome and
Yeah.
it like shaped me as a kid, even though I knew it was dumb. I watched it because I just like loved just seeing the scenery in Australia and I loved seeing them in the water all the time. And I kind of like craved that because that was not my, even though I lived in South Florida as a teenager, I think I went to the beach maybe once or twice. Like as soon as I became a teenager, my life kind of changed. I was in the pool every
Yeah.
weekend or going to the ocean that often. I rarely went actually. So like I got to see a teenage experience that I didn't get to have, and I got to kind of just like live it a little bit just by watching it. Um, but I never thought like, oh, they're mermaids, I'm a mermaid too. Like that only came, you know, in the last few years. There wasn't any sort of like reclamation of the mermaid, but there was something healing or uh, something soothing about just
Mm-hmm.
watching mermaid
Yeah.
movies and shows. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you?
So, okay, so definitely growing up, I think just like I said, Peter Pan. I did watch The Little Mermaid a few times, but I think that it wasn't like how I was obsessed with Peter Pan. I think Peter Pan just contained everything in one world. It was just like the ultimate
Yeah.
fantasy for me. I mean, I don't think, I think after the age of 7, I probably stopped watching Disney movies. It was more like a very little girl thing, and then I just never really watched many Disney movies again. And I also didn't watch that many, it was like maybe 5 of them that I kind of knew and liked. And I'm a I'm a movie repeater, right? Like
Venus and Cancer
yeah, Venus and Cancer
vibe.
nostalgic vibes. I like something, I repeat it and I repeat it and I repeat it. And the thing is, like after
Same.
Peter Pan, I think I didn't watch Aquamarine. I can't remember when I watched it. Maybe I was already 21 or 19 or I don't know if I watched it before when I was a teenager. I think definitely I watched H2O when I was living in Chile when I was 13, but then like at the age of 14, I moved to Uruguay and I didn't want a TV in my room anymore. And soon after, I moved to Israel and I was living like in a boarding school. And so I also didn't have access to a TV. And that's probably a big reason why I like kind of have a gap of like movie watching and series watching. And I didn't go back to watching series until I was maybe like 19, 20, where I then remembered certain things that I would watch when I was younger that I never got to really finish. I never actually watched all of H2O when I was a teenager. I watched a few episodes, whatever was on TV, and I loved it. And I remembered I loved it so much that by the time I was like 21, 22, I decided to purposely look for it so that I could actually watch it, the nostalgic heart that I am, and actually like get to see what it was that I was watching. And I was doing this with a lot of things. I did it with Sabrina the Teenage Witch, for example.
Oh
I
my
did it with
God.
Gilmore Girls. Like I had a whole phase in my early 20s where I was just curious of what is it that I watched on TV as a child slash teenager so that I could understand what it is that kind of shaped me subconsciously and watch it with like fresh eyes and understand what did I watch. So it was
Mm-hmm.
kind of like an experiment, in a way, but also like yeah, nostalgic and I wanted to see it. So I guess I didn't watch that much growing up, and then in the last few years, I repeated H2O maybe 3 times, and it's always at a time where I'm very nostalgic and need a resource. It's at a time where I'm like, I need life energy back into me and I need to feel magic again in my life. And I love it. And it fills me up and it inspires me. So I actually use it like in a therapeutic way to
Yeah.
support my heart, or like just to soothe myself when something big happens in life and I just need to go into my cave for a moment and become a mermaid also in my consciousness, because I feel the mermaids heal. Water
Yeah.
heals, beauty heals, and that show just has it all. Even if it's kind of lame, it's an amazing show, and I love the friendship also in Aquamarine. Like they have
Yeah.
strong themes of friendship, of girls together, the
That's
threesome
true.
energy, and just yeah, the whole feeling of magic and believing in life. And sure, there's like keeping a secret element, which is always in the mermaid stuff. Like there's always the need to keep a secret because it's like protection, it's loyalty, right? It's being loyal. So I just love the themes that those kind of movies of mermaids have, as opposed to like the Little Mermaid and maybe some other ones that are more about like losing the voice and like
Like
betrayal
romance,
and
the
romance,
romance.
the man, and then maybe also it's just one mermaid. It's like her alone against the world, as opposed to this like threesome friendship energy
Yeah.
that alivens you and makes you feel like wow.
Yeah. Or the mermaid is portrayed in this like villainous, dark,
Yeah,
kind of seductress, evil way.
yeah,
Like there are
but
other movies, right? Like Harry
yeah, yeah,
Potter or
yeah.
like more recent shows like Tidelands that I
Mm.
saw a few years ago, which is an Australian TV show, and mermaids are like portrayed in this really
Mm,
evil, murderous,
yeah.
kind of
I
aggressive
think
way.
when mermaids are not the center of the show and they just like kind of make a little like pop in, pop out kind of moment, like Harry Potter 4, where there's like a little like mermaid theme
Yeah,
into the whole movie. Like they're always used in this negative way, in this negative light. Like it's just like they're these evil seductresses who want to like take you
kill
away, kill
sailors,
you,
like lure
villain.
you and drown you at the bottom of the
Yeah.
sea.
But when it's focused on the mermaid world, there's this other side of it, and it's beautiful and it's magical, and it like connects to the voice and empowerment and friendship, and and valuing like your gifts and discovering what is your gift. That's like very much in these movies as well. The three girls in H2O, they have to discover their powers, and they have powers and they can support the world. Like the show literally ends with them saving the world with their powers. and being
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
able, like actually literally being what's that word? Like they accept the fact that they could die just so that they can save the world, basically. You know, it's like
Yeah.
self-sacrifice, which is really beautiful. And in Aquamarine, I can't remember now the ending, but there's also some kind of
In that one,
self-saving.
she wants to get separate from her dad, who's like Poseidon or whatever, and so
Yeah.
she becomes a human. But her dad says that unless she's able to find someone to love her,
Mm,
she can't like stay on land. She has to go
yeah.
back to being a mermaid in the sea with him. So her and her friends go on this quest to get this guy to fall in love with her. And in the end, there's like this big scene with like the water swirling and her dad is about to suck her back into the ocean.
Yeah.
And the surfer guy who she finds she's like, "Do you love me or not?" And he's like, "I really like you, but I don't know you enough to love you." But in the end, it's her two friends who say, "We love you." And
Right.
her father sees that love, it's possible for a mermaid to be loved and he believes in love and, she's able
That's
to,
beautiful. I love that they
yeah,
did that. They rewrote the whole like Little Mermaid in a way because there's
yeah,
that father there and there's the man that needs to love you, but then here it's about the friendship. I love that.
yeah,
Great
yeah.
movie, Aquamarine.
Need to
Great
rewatch
movie.
it.
I'm gonna rewatch it again.
I've been rewatching all of these movies for this episode
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
specifically, right? We've been doing that. That was kind of
Yeah.
our
I mean, I
homework.
I guess instead of rewatching the ones I had already watched, I watched new ones like the 13 Year that you told me about,
Yeah,
and
the Disney Channel movie, which is
yeah,
really cool because it's not a girl, it's a boy.
yeah,
It's a mer boy
it's a mer
who at
boy. Yeah,
13, who he goes through puberty and he starts becoming a
a
mermaid and he's like
merman. Yeah,
he's a swimmer, like he's a swimmer for his school and then
yeah,
he's like, "Oh my God, I'm a merman now, and how do I do this?" So it was cool to see the boy, right? Because it's always
definitely.
women. Um, but it still carries the themes of transformation,
Yes.
right? That mermaids have of like
And
going
also
from human
friendship.
to
Because
yeah.
he's not necessarily a bully before that, but he's like the cool kid and he cares about his status in a way. And there's this like lame geek boy who has the father who's like obsessed with the mermaids, right? And the boy, he's very into science and biology and like loves to research, and they get like paired up in a school project, and that's the only reason they start talking. But in the end, it's that boy who like actually supports him and helps him through his transformation, through his freak out of like, what's happening to me? Am I becoming a fish? You know, and it's like in a way it's like a bromance. There's like
Yeah.
a bro friendship there as well.
Yeah.
And what I love about it is also that in that movie, the theme that's brought up is that there are like kids basically that grow like are born in the sea world, right? In the oceans, and basically, it's also that one, and it's in another movie that I watched that's totally lame. I can't even remember the title, but in both of them, they speak basically about how it's a coming of age thing. Like when you're born into the mer world, you are first a human, and you come into mermaid or merman world when you turn 12 for girls and 13 for the boy, which to me was very cool because, you know, I'm Jewish, and for us, like bat mitzvahs at 12 and bar mitzvahs at 13. So I found that very cool that, like, in these movies, they're using the same age. I'm like, oh my God, I want my bat mitzvah to have been when I get my tail, but whatever. I'll take it up with God. Um, but basically, I found it very cool, you know, that it's kind of like you know, I know I'm not adopted, but let's say when I was a child, I used to think I was, and who's to say that I wasn't born in the sea and then given to my parents? And I just never got my tail for some fucking reason, but it's okay. No, I'm kidding.
We
But
have our etheric tale.
yeah,
We have an
exactly.
etheric
But
tale.
it's no, I what I think is cool is like just that story of yeah, the transforming the consciousness of the water, the I these kids that have to go through that switch, it's embracing a side of, it's like being able to embrace a part of them that makes them super unique and very different from everyone else, and that requires them in some way to make some kind of releasing and letting go of a part of themselves that's never going to come back. There's some grief in it of like, I'm never going to be a full human anymore. Now I'm embracing this whole new world, and how do I accept this other part of me that seems very uncomfortable at that age to have to go through. So I like that theme as well, which is it's kind of
Yeah,
what happens to us anyways as teenagers. We just have to get comfortable with changing and not being a child anymore,
yeah,
you know,
yeah. Individuating from our parents and
individuating from a friend. Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, and creating our own life path
And
and
being our
yeah,
unique self, like how can I embrace my unique self? What makes me different from others? So that's also really
yeah,
cool.
yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many more I feel like we could talk about, but
Yeah, many more. I'm like, we're missing.
yeah.
Oh, we said Pirates of the Caribbean, right? Was there
Yeah, Pirates of
anything
the
worthy?
Caribbean, they come, but it's like very brief in one of the movies, and it's
Yeah.
also again that like they're scary, they're creepy, it's in the
Uh,
middle of the night. Don't get
yeah.
too close.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't even remember it. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Forward. Yeah.
Then there's like one more that I think it's worth sharing. It's called Lady of the Water,
I
which
didn't
isn't
watch
really
that.
a mermaid movie, but it's like a water nymph movie.
Oh.
And it's a really trippy movie. It's very interesting. And it brings like this mystery to it, and the storytelling elements to it, but it also brings in the themes of like collaboration and coming together, bringing
Mm.
people together for a shared purpose of saving the world,
Oh.
of supporting a water being, like helping this being of the water for humanity to protect humanity,
Yeah.
and that the water being the sea nymph, she has like gifts, oracle abilities, intuitive abilities, is a
Wow.
sensitive soul, right? Like in all of these movies, we see these like similar traits, and I think that they're little downloads for us to remember,
Yeah.
because I do think that there was a time where humans on land were originally water beings, right? Like it's a fact that
Mm.
Earth, before we had the seven continents, it was an ocean planet,
Mm.
and our evolutionary ancestors moved from being land water beings to land beings. So, I do think we have in our history this connection to the ocean
Mm-hmm.
in a way that we've forgotten a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there's a lot more to talk about, but we can leave it there.
Yeah.
So, Naomi, how can we as adult women connect with the mermaid archetype?
What a question. Oh. I I feel like it's probably very individual from woman to woman, right? Like I'm probably going to share more of like how I mean, I've been sharing how I've been connecting. I think one of the first steps is probably to yeah, I mean, if you're here and you're listening to this podcast, right, you probably have already a connection and feel connected to the water and to the mermaid. I doubt anyone who doesn't have that feeling, that magnetizing connecting to the mermaids and water and the oceans and rivers, waterfalls, lakes, whatever, is gonna listen to us otherwise if they're not right connected. So I'm gonna skip on how to connect to the water and just go straight to how to release shame. Because I feel like, if anything, the way we can connect more is like the more like releasing the shame of like being seen as too woo-woo, being seen as like we're not earthy enough, maybe grounded enough, maybe we're just like living in some kind of
Childish.
childish, living in some fantasy world. I feel like both, you and I, right, we're very earthy, grounded women. At the same time, we're our whole work is influenced by this beautiful energy, but it's not the center, right, of our other tools and work, and yet we allow ourselves to become in some way these mermaids, like to bring the essence of the magic and the beauty of the mermaid archetype, and to let her in, like to just embrace that part. It's just a part, so embracing that part, not necessarily needing it to be our whole identity, but also like having fun, being our inner children again, and appreciating the mermaid and saying like, I love this about it, and I love this about it, and this has healed me. This has healed a part of my heart. This has healed maybe my skin, right? Like I could give better examples, but ever since I've embraced more my mermaid, like I care about my hair and I do rituals. I've always been that girl even before, but I think it just expanded that in me in a way that's like I have no shame about it. You know,
Yeah.
I think that's the subtle change of like, and it became even more natural to me, and it's not performative, and it's not for anyone else, and it's not like any kind of like must. It became very free for me just to like, how do I want to nourish myself, and just like nourishment being part of my whole, not my whole, but yeah, my part of my life, just nourishment. So like
Mhm.
those are the ways that I've embraced more the medicine of the mermaid archetype, like through nourishment, through being aware of my voice and how lovely it is to soothe myself with my own sounds. And like, we used to talk about this when we were more into like frequency and all of this, but basically how we carry, right, like the healing um within our throats, and so all these things that have helped me. And yeah, just being aware of how good it feels to be in water, and so allowing myself, I think giving myself permission to to be a mermaid and not care if someone's like, oh my God, you believe in mermaids, what
Mhm.
like
You
anything.
don't?
And also, yeah, because online, like you mentioned, there's a big wave of of the medicine. Sorry, I want to say of the medicine mermaid, and we're the medicine mermaid. There's a big wave of the mermaids in many different ways, and in some, I can agree. It seems super woo-woo. It feels very ungrounded. Sometimes it's almost like hard to understand, and I don't judge it, but I also don't engage with it, and I can understand that someone from the outside could just like bundle it all up together. And and I feel like we need to clear all of that noise of whatever someone else is
Totally.
gonna think. We need to clear all the noise of like anyone else's way of connecting, and really just focusing on ourselves. Like, okay, do you love going out and feeling the sun on your skin and laying on the sand and going into water? That's enough. Like, well done.
Mm-hmm.
You're a part of it. You don't
Totally.
do anything special. Do you love
Totally.
combing your hair and taking time to do your routines and nourishing yourself and pampering yourself? Maybe you're a daughter of Hishum. That's enough. Like, it's enough, whatever your way is. I feel it's enough. And then you just allow yourself. And if you don't want to call yourself a mermaid, don't, but like it's just another archetype, and it's one that I find that is super healing and super fun. That's
Totally.
it.
Yeah. I think for me, like, there are a couple of things. I think reclaiming the mermaid archetype within me, one, made visiting the waters, whether it's going to the beach or going to the waterfall or going to the river, anything related to water suddenly became sacred.
Yeah.
Like going to the beach used to be just a whatever thing that you do, like it's just what you do. You live in Florida. But it suddenly became this act of a ritual where I would bring flowers and I would, find a spot where I'm by myself and I would go into the water and I would like sing and I would pray and talk to the water, right? Where now I'm like, oh, I'm a mermaid, and mermaids are the protectors of the oceans. They're like the voices of the water. We're important. I suddenly felt this sense of importance in going to the water and not being in an unconscious way just for my pleasure and recreation, but just me going to the waters is healing myself. It's healing the water and it's healing our planet. And it's important that other people know this. And I think at the beginning of our my reclamation journey with the mermaids, I was talking about it loudly and we had our mermaid portals and all these things. Now it's more subtle and more quiet. I think it's more of an internal thing that I carry. But yeah, that was definitely number one. And I think another thing is that reclaiming the mermaid archetype has brought the magic back a little bit. I think I became an adult and suddenly like Peter Pan, right? Like you became an adult and suddenly you're no longer a kid where things are serious and you have to be a mature adult. And coming back to the mermaids and also like reclaiming my inner witch um, has been very much about bringing the magic back of believing that there is so much more out there than what we can see, right? It's there's so much more in the subtle world that we don't know is possible and believing in knowing mermaids exist, not just believing in them, but knowing that they're real, like knowing in my bones is also about bringing the magic back of being able to communicate with the elements and not just water, but with fire, with air, with earth, and being able to bring life to things. Even in my own healing journey, sometimes I've felt like, oh, it's so dry, it's so dull. It's take this medicine and you heal. But we're magical beings, right? We're inner healers. we are capable of, with our voice, with our tuning fork, with our belief, with our hearts, to be able to bring healing to ourselves and to support other women in their healing. And so, reclaiming the mermaid archetype, or I guess it's not even for me an archetype, it's really just my beingness, like a part of my beingness.
Yeah.
It's been about reclaiming the magic of me, believing in my own magic and also of the world, like bringing that childhood play to life again, that kids are so good at bringing, just
Yeah.
that ability to create imaginary worlds. Our world needs that, more of that, right?
And
We
it's not
need
just
more of that.
imaginary. In the end, we are co-creators. And, Avada Kedavra, like I create as I speak,
Yeah.
like all of that energy isn't just lost in an imaginary world. It really creates what we live. It's like a lens that we also look through, and we see more magic, we feel more gratitude, we feel more connection, love. There's that mutual symbiosis and like connection. Like water heals us, we heal water, heals us,
Yeah.
like the ripples of all of that work of loving the water, of respecting. Like I remember with you, we talked about this when we were in the river together, right? Like it's a sacred space and we want to respect it. Like people who come with their like boom boxes and play the music and leave the trash and like whatever, like it doesn't feel respectful to Mother Nature. And yeah, these are spaces for prayer, for love, for singing, for relaxing, for like observing beauty, for to connecting to the waters. It's just it's yeah, it's magical in and of
Totally.
itself, and it's so simple. It's simple things to do that like we fool ourselves into believing we don't have time, but it's about making time also for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel complete.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
Yeah, good. I mean, we have one more question, but I feel like you touched on it. Why does the world need the medicine? I mean, the medicine mermaid. I keep on saying, why does the world, you know what, world, we need the medicine mermaid. Because it's about, yeah, we all have medicine inside of us, but why does the world need the mermaid now? So, and in a way, I feel like you started answering that, which is just the healing, right? It's
Yeah.
we heal and the world heals and everything,
And we slow down.
consciousness.
I
Yeah.
think mermaid also brings us like the ability to slow down to the pace of water.
Yeah.
We need to slow down. We're so fast now, especially with technology, with AI, with social media,
Yeah.
right?
Being
Water and
present
earth.
again. Yeah.
Yeah. These elements bring us in a slower pace and help
And
us
it
to
soothes,
integrate.
yeah, it soothes our nervous system. It helps us integrate, like you said. It supports all of our healing. It's filled with memory
Yeah.
and of memory of our medicine, literally. And it's just like yeah, I believe in how it brings us back to presence and being with ourselves and listening. And it's so delicious, honestly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's delicious to just spend the day and just be in water. It's kind of like when you're at a campfire and you're just staring at the fire and
Yeah,
you're just mesmerized by the fire. I feel that water has the same thing in a different way where you
mesmerizing.
just sit and stare at water,
The
sit and
glimmer.
watch a waterfall and just like the bubbles, the sounds, like it's all communication. It's maybe not consciously we're understanding what's happening, but there's something happening with ourselves that they're
And
receiving messages
also,
and
yeah, like also now that I'm like dating this, cold plunging waterman. Um, and I mean like I'm not for women always doing these cold plunges because I don't think it's always right for us in our cycles, but hot and cold water have amazing benefits. So just water has amazing benefits, but I know that also the temperature of waters, right? Like there's so many really cold rivers and streams, and there's also natural hot springs. And it's not for nothing that there's both, because both really bring amazing benefits to us when we like merge in them and it cleanses us. And like, in Judaism, women when they're done bleeding, like they go into water to like cleanse and
Mhm.
like make the distinction between the bleeding days and the rest of the cycle, and kind of like, you released now something and now you continue and you're fresh in a way, right? It's not because you were dirty, but it's just I still can't fully explain it. It's becoming new for me, but I've been practicing it now for the last two bleeds where I finish bleeding and I go and I plunge myself in water. I take off all the jewelry. I go in naked to like a natural source of water. Some people like do it in the special house, but I think that's the only thing I would want to add. Like the mermaid connects us back to water, and water is life, literally. And just water has so many benefits for us, even on a physiological, biological level. Like it's all levels, like the conscious, like right, at the heart level, the soul, the body, like all of it. It's just water's part of our life. Without
We
water,
are water. We are little cups of water. We're little walking cups of water, right?
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, I am complete now too.
I feel good. All
Yeah.
right. Well, thank you so much for listening. We hope that you enjoyed this episode and your little inner child mermaid also was just buzzing with joy to talk about our favorite movies
Write
when we
to
were kids.
us. Maybe comment, leave us a comment. What was your favorite movies or shows growing up, literally, or like, how do you connect to water? Whatever you liked about our chat, whatever you want to hear us talk about next. Anything. Us trying
Well,
to
we'll see
be
you.
YouTubers. Here we go.
Well, we'll see you on our next episode. Thank you
Mwah.
so much for joining us.
Thank you. Ciao.
Ciao.